Hello everyone, welcome to Lotus Heart Tarot. I'm so happy to have you here. We are just going to dive straight into your reading today. Let's see, I hope June is off to a really lovely start for all of you. Let's see what messages Spirit has for us today. Spirit, please give us the messages that are in Pisces' highest and best good. What does Pisces need to know right now? All right, guys, keep in mind this is a general reading, so take what resonates and leave the rest. Wow. Pisces, I don't know if this is your energy or your person's energy, someone around you or you. You know, just keep in mind, this really could be anyone. It is a general message. There is someone who is desperately in need of shifting their perspective. This is like hangman energy here on the bottom of the deck. They really needed to see things in a different way. This card is also a 14, which, you know, of course reminds me of the energy of temperance, which means they may have had some healing to do or some rebalancing to do within themselves to be able to see things more clearly. You know, oftentimes in life, we really get bogged down in seeing through a certain lens that is colored by all of our experiences and the way that we process those experiences. And we don't necessarily realize, it's not like we go from seeing black and white to color overnight. It's a little bit at a time, you know, that the color is infused into the black and white. So we don't really notice how much we have shifted. And, you know, there's so many great quotes about how much closer we are to ourselves when we are born and than we are, you know, as an adult. And how, you know, we lose and forget kind of how to, what's really important and what our true nature is. And, you know, because our experiences and the circumstances of life and our culture and, you know, well, other people's desires for us and the manipulation just of society to get us to want to buy things and, you know, to get us to be what they want us to be, you know, happens. And it colors us and it gets us, you know, I don't want to say it gets us off track, because I am one of those people that feels like there are no mistakes and nothing happens by accident, and that challenge is one of the challenges that helps us to find enlightenment, honestly. But there is this energy just of like, when we need to shift our focus, it's because we have allowed our thoughts and our conditioning and that kind of energy to really take priority over the other softer parts of ourselves. And, you know, sometimes it requires grief or suffering to some degree. It requires us losing something that is important to us, that matters to us, for us to realize how we were not prioritizing it, or how we did not treat it properly, or how fragile these things are, or, you know, I mean, it can be a whole variety of things, right? But that grief really shows us, it highlights our resistance. It makes us see where we really have the opportunity to grow, where we really have the opportunity to change, where we are not allowing, you know, the universe to guide us into a flow state with it, you know, to go along with life instead of fighting life, and allow the circumstances of life to be whatever they are, and to respond from our highest and best place instead of fighting it and being disappointed by it and insisting on having our own way from our limited human perspective. You know, when we can really open up and say, I'm open to life. I'm open to what life wants to bring to me. I accept it all as my teacher, as my friend. And as, you know, the course and the path that I've asked to travel, or that I want to travel, or that is even just in my highest and best good. And sometimes we open up to seeing this resistance, and we open up to what the resistance can teach us. And sometimes we shut down and we close a blind eye to it. And that choice, that is where our free will choice comes in. That is where we as people say, yeah, I open up to the lesson here. What happened? What can I learn from it? How can I grow from it? How can I become better because this happened? How can I make it valuable to me? Everything can become valuable. You know, I've been, this just blows my mind, but it has really altered the way that I view the world. I don't know who it was, but I think it was like NASA, but it wasn't NASA, but it was some outer space thing that I trust a lot. And they were talking about how here on Earth we covet diamonds, but actually carbon is one of the most readily available elements in the universe. And in fact, there is an entire diamond planet the size of the sun, I think they said, in the universe somewhere, and or a universe somewhere. And that diamond in the scheme of the universe is not valuable. What is valuable, what is the most valuable, is wood, because it only occurs here on Earth. And man, do I covet wood in a way I have not coveted wood. I mean, I've always loved wood, the richness of wood, the beauty of wood, the smell of wood, the feel of well-sanded wood. I love wood. My husband does woodworking, and he just builds and makes things that are just incredible. And so I do have a deep appreciation for wood and the smell of my garage when I like go out there and inhale after he's been out there sanding something. But you know, when you allow yourself to shift your perspective, right? Instead of looking at Earth and society and culture and these things, and you go out into the big vastness of the universe, value changes. What is valuable is different than it is from our limited human perspective. So sometimes we just have to trust the universe. We just have to trust that where we're being guided and what is being given to us is what is best for us. And sometimes that requires us to slow down, to rebalance, to notice the lens that we're looking through life, and to kind of breathe through it, and to ask ourselves, is this really the lens that I want to be looking at life through? Is this really what is important to me? If I continue looking at life through this lens all the way until I die, will I be satisfied with the life that leaves me with? That will have been lived making my decisions based on that lens? Or is there some way, is there something I'm missing? And see, that's introspection. And a lot of times people avoid that, and we don't do that. And I don't know if that's you or if it's your person. I feel like Pisces are highly introspective people for the most part. You know, I don't like to make gross generalizations, but for the most part, Pisces is one of the most introspective signs. You know, they're probably first to go, okay, what is it with me? You know, and maybe almost sometimes to a fault, right? But there is this energy of reevaluation, of saying, okay, what can I learn from the things that I'm really stubborn about, or the areas that I'm really resistant? Like maybe the universe is telling me to let go and to move on by closing all these doors and by taking these opportunities away from me. And am I still fighting for that thing? And if so, where is that coming from and why? And what could it look like if I were to release that? And you know what I'm saying? And so there's a whole internal reevaluation process happening here for someone. If it isn't you, Pisces, I'd say it's someone close to you. And then you have this gather inspiration energy. So it's kind of like the first thing we have to do is let go of what's not working for us, is what is no longer serving us. And so, like, I do this, I tell you guys this all the time with the full moon. I ask, you know, my angels, my guides, the divine to help me release what is no longer serving me so that I can make space for what I want. And, you know, I feel like the lining it up with the full moon ensures that I'm doing that once a month. Plus, with the full moon energy, it's supposed to help expand that energy or like pack more punch with that energy. So what that does is it creates space for you to co-create with the universe the life that you actually want, the manifesting, which we do with the new moon energy, right? And so in between those periods of letting go and, you know, co-creation, starting new, we want to gather inspiration. We want to think about and focus on what is it that we want our life to look like. You know, some people create vision boards, you know, that are very literable, very tangible, very, you know, fully present, and they refer back to them. Some people journal down what it is they're looking for or what they want. Some people just make space 5 minutes a day to put on a song or you know, some music and close their eyes and manifest and think about and envision what it is they want. There's all kinds of tools and techniques you can do, but the purpose is living with intention here. You know, not just allowing life to happen to us through this old lens, just reacting to whatever comes in front of us and resisting what we don't like. But the goal here is to open up to flow and to allow the universe to take us in the direction that is in our highest and best. The universe is going to take us there regardless. It's either going to be us resisting it and being forced and experiencing louder and louder and louder towers, or it's going to be us saying, okay, I open up to life. I accept life on life's terms. I accept it the way that it is. I don't want to ride the up and down of getting my hopes up that it's going to be exactly the way I want it to be, and then almost getting attached to that expectation of that outcome, and then being disappointed by life constantly, and then going through this process of thinking there's something wrong with me, or there's something wrong with the universe, or life is unfair, or this or that. It is just an energy of acceptance, and there is so much peace in that. In the Course of Miracles book, they say, if it comes, it comes. If it goes, it goes. And that's that's it. That's the way we navigate. My yoga teacher always adds on to the back of that, if it doesn't come, it doesn't come. If it doesn't go, it doesn't go. You know, and I like that. It feels so much more complete and well-rounded to me. So I offer that to you. But somebody is definitely reevaluating things, and they're definitely, you know, this is like strong 3 of Wands energy, or 2 of Wands energy. They're looking at their life, and they're looking at the choices in front of them, and they're looking at the result of those choices, what it may be, and they're asking themselves, what do I need to shift? What do I need to change in order to align with the vision that I hold for myself? Okay, guys, you got cards flying everywhere. I can't carry this love alone. My heart races when I'm with you. In the ashes of hurt, fresh dreams are waiting to be born. Why can't you see my heart? Oh, somebody can't communicate. With you, I feel protected and cherished. Hope shapes your future more than pain ever could. I choose us over and over again. Let light fill spaces occupied by sorrow. All right, so I definitely am getting the sense that this is someone that has not had the easiest history. I mean, none of us really have. You take your pick. You know, some people maybe have had it easier than others, but in some ways, ease does not make things better. It means less suffering while you're growing, but then when you're older, when you face obstacle, it can be harder, right? So there's a give and take to everything, and there's no need for us to compare our journeys to each other or to say, gosh, I wish I would have had it like that instead of like this. The best policy I have always found is to just accept what we were given, come to terms with it the best that we can, find peace and acceptance in it, find the gift in it, and keep trucking. And even to be glad for it, to be grateful for it. But that takes time and space, and don't put pressure on yourself. But and life is a different journey for all of us. Truthfully, what works for one person does not always work for the other. So always keep that in mind. If things don't work for you, then just accept that that's not your thing and keep looking, you know. I've so many times had people say like, oh, just do this, or oh, just get over it, or oh, it's not that big a deal. And it's like, well, it doesn't ever feel good. But here's what I'm trying to tell you. I feel like you have somebody here who has become a bit emotionally disconnected, and they really wish that you could see what was in their heart, because then they wouldn't have to say it. And then they wouldn't, you know, it almost feels like such a difficult task for this person to say what they feel, that they wish that you could just peer into their chest and see what is in their heart. They really, their heart races when they're with you. They really do have deep feelings. I mean, you have the love word here. They really do love you. I did just get like love even being close to you or being near you. And the thing is, you know, when they're with you, they feel cared for and they feel safe. And, you know, not everybody makes everybody feel that way. And especially, you know, especially like if we're talking about a masculine, you know, masculines, a lot of times, you know, people don't think about, well, I want them to feel protected and safe. But I feel like this is kind of emotionally. It's like, you know, when I'm with you, I feel like I can feel, like I can open up and allow myself to feel things that I don't normally feel. And while I may not express them, it doesn't mean that I'm not feeling them or that I'm not grateful for the space that you provide that allows me to feel them. And it's so important for all of us to have that kind of space, but especially with masculines, they're so raised not to cry, not to feel. Feelings make you weak. You're a sissy boy. You're this, you're that, you know? So to have a space where they're allowed to feel, where they're allowed to be in touch with that part of them is so important. Like, we're all human. We all have that spot. It's with us for a reason. And the more connected we are to ourselves in every dimension of ourselves, you know, the more rich our lives are and the more balanced our lives are. So you give this person hope and you make them feel like their future could be a very different place than their past. And that, I feel like, is what really makes them choose this connection over and over again. You know, this let light fill spaces once occupied by sorrow. I honestly feel like this person feels disappointed, you know, or like has felt disappointed, heartbroken. You know, they've felt a lot of the negative or the more difficult parts of emotion, right? But they haven't felt a lot of the light and the joyful emotions. And I feel like you really give them that, you know. It's giving me that energy of the cracks are where the light shines through. Those parts of us that are broken are where we're able to allow that light to come in. Pisces. But it does say I can't carry this love alone. And I think that's what this person, I kind of feel like they don't know how you really still feel about them. And I feel like they don't want to be in it by themselves. None of us do. You know, I feel like this is someone who, like I said before here, has experienced a lot of the more difficult parts of love. You know, I have felt since the very beginning of this reading an energy of being gaslit. You know, like, oh, you don't really feel that way. Or, you know, your feelings are not valid. Like, you shouldn't feel that way. There's no reason for you to feel that way. You have this, this, and this. Or I gave you that. Or, you know. And it's just, it's like, you allow this person to feel whatever they feel, you know? And I feel like, you know, this person may have been abandoned or may have been kind of emotionally neglected. They may have dealt with people who were not very loyal. And I feel like they may have been loyal to the other people, but then not receive that in return. And I think that that's always really hard. I mean, all of these things and trusting someone else is really hard. I mean, none of them are really easy to live through, right? But I feel like it has made this person a little bit afraid of commitment or exclusivity. I feel like it has... They've just sort of told themselves that they're probably not ever really going to have a satisfying relationship in love or whatever. So they kind of stopped trying so that they wouldn't be so hurt. And I feel like they may have lost you, Pisces, because of this. Maybe they even refused to commit, or you thought that they weren't serious or something, so you moved away from it. And I think that was a real wake-up call to them because of the sadness that they felt. And they were looking at it and they were like, why couldn't I give Pisces that? I mean, Pisces makes me feel all these things. Like, I know that this is what I want, but why didn't I show up for it? And I think it's causing them to kind of look at these lessons, and they're looking at the way they processed it by disconnecting further and further from their emotions and kind of telling themselves they didn't need it and they didn't want it, you know, so that it was okay that they didn't have it. Because it's like, what I'm getting is the alternative is having to look at myself as not lovable. God, that hurts my heart. It's not a reflection of them. It's not that they're not lovable. It's that the people that they were choosing to be with were not capable of returning what they were offering. And I think this person is starting to sort things out. I think that they're sort of going back and they're shifting their perspective. They're looking at why this happened because of this grief, and they're seeing their own resistance. They're looking at their own resistance. They're finally facing it open-eyed because they're so hurt and they don't want to ever hurt like that again. And it's causing them to sort things out and to kind of realize where this is coming from and why, and whether or not it had anything to do with you. Let's dive into the tarot. I always have to give these cards a good shuffle. They're actually really hard to shuffle, otherwise I would probably use them all the time. It's like the Moonchild Tarot, I think. I have a few of them, and I love them. But they are really hard to shuffle. All right, for Pisces, please, Spirit. For Pisces. Oh, wow. Wow, yeah. My God. Oh my God. So, I'm I mean, guys, like, hello, look at this. This feels like a divine masculine energy, but, you know, take it as it resonates. You have the King of Pentacles with the Seven of Cups and Awakening, and the King of Cups on the bottom of the deck. See, this is someone that may have really tried to focus more on the material world or money or, you know, their career, and kind of, you know, not, you know, kind of just accept that, like, okay, that's what life is about. It's about, you know, making money and having a career and, you know, playing the game, rather than, you know, falling in love and having that kind of a thing. It's kind of like, I'm going to make as much money as possible so I can attract the best person I can attract. And then, and like, that's how you do life. Instead of those two things kind of being separate. And, well, I mean, they don't always have to really be separate, but it's like, I'm going to do what I need to do in order to, like, keep a roof over my head and keep food on the table. But I'm really looking for love, for someone that I love and someone that loves me back. And, you know, even with this focusing on the pentacles, there is this heart chakra lit up in the center of his chest. And it almost, like, initially it feels like a hole to me. Like, you know, I just kind of took that out and put it aside and I'm not really dealing with it. It's just empty. But then, you know, as you kind of look at the card and you see that it's almost like auric, there is like a blue light around it and it seems to be like radiating out. The more we repress or suppress or bury something down, it's like the more it insists on being heard. And it's not even just that it insists on being heard, but the universe, you know, continuously puts what we need in front of us for where we're trying to go and what we're trying to achieve in this life. And this person is a lover. They are a feeler. And they, I think, set out to life through that lens, to be that way. And all of their experiences shut them down, shut that eye down. And, you know, they weren't able to find someone that did reciprocate. And they had so many of those experiences that they just told themselves, hey, you know, this isn't for me. You know, that must not be right. That must not be how we're supposed to navigate this space. We're maybe just supposed to focus on money. Like, and they may have looked around. Their parents may be like that. Their you know, their society, their culture, whatever, may be like that. And it's not about love, or you'll eventually fall in love with whoever you end up with, or love doesn't really matter. It's a partner you're picking. You know, are they good at contributing as well? Are they a hard worker as well? Like, who knows? But it feels to me that it grew almost in an unbalanced way with this person, because I look over here at the King of Cups and you can see his chakras are all lit up, and they're all, you know, they're not all exactly the same size, but they're all a similar size. And when you look at the King of Pentacles, he's looking outside himself. He's looking for validation outside himself. And he's, you know, ignoring this one center, and it's growing, and it's almost like everything else is gone because this is so neglected and blocked that nothing else can really grow. Our chakra system is all connected. And so, you know, if you have a problem with your root chakra, you're going to have an awful hard time with your third eye chakra and your crown chakra and your throat chakra. You know, you're going to struggle. And it feels like that's with this King of Crystals. So he stopped, you know, thinking of himself as an energetic being and stopped caring for all the parts of himself. And he started just looking outside himself for validation in, you know, money, or maybe, Sometimes people search for it in other people. And maybe that's what he was doing with you. Maybe he was searching for validation in you. And then you awakened this heart chakra within him, this grief system, because maybe you left. And they were standing there holding the bag, carrying this love that they felt for you by themselves. And this long neglected space within them was burning. And in an effort to calm it down, this person is having this awakening. With the Seven of Cups, this is our fear and this is our illusion. And this awakening is this energy of opening up to look at where we're resisting, where we're letting fear and illusion win. And, the Seven of Cups is also like confusion and not seeing things clearly. It's a very Neptunian energy where it's like we get it all kind of convoluted. And that's kind of what he did. Wow, well, that person couldn't love me back or didn't love me back. I don't want to look at myself as not lovable. I'm just going to look at the whole idea of finding a partner based on love out of the question. And I'm just going to focus on this like I have seen so many other people do around me. That must be the answer. That must be the way. Because I tried the love thing and it didn't work. This person, through this awakening, they're learning how to rebalance their system. It's like I got the strong temperance energy from that 14. And even if you look at this King of Cups, he's got 2 cups in his hands. He's incredibly balanced. All of his chakra centers are balanced. That heart chakra no longer looks like a hole in the center of his chest. It looks like something that is in balance with everything else. This is someone who's been introspecting and regrouping and putting things in their proper place within themselves. And there's someone who is learning how to master their emotions, how to have them without reacting to them and without saying, oh, I got hurt, I got to shut the whole system down. It's like saying, okay, I got hurt, now I need to learn from that. How do I learn from that? How do I incorporate that experience into my being in a healthy way? I'm also loving that here he's facing backward and here he's facing forward. It's like giving me the same vibe of this. Hope shapes your future more than your pain ever could. Like when I am in balance, when I am in this energy with the King of Cups, I'm hopeful for my future. I'm balanced looking around. My priorities are intact. You guys keep getting the Ten of Pentacles. Some of you are coming into some money. I feel like the Ten of Pentacles have shown up in about every reading lately. Some of you may be having a change in status with your finances. The King of Pentacles is being clarified by the Emperor. I think this is someone that really tried to project that they had it all together without really understanding what Emperor energy is. Emperor energy is divine masculine energy. And that is the energy of making decisions based on the highest and best for all. It's a very even-handed, non-egoic energy. And when an emperor is kind of out of whack, out of balance, it comes across more arrogantly. It comes across more egotistically. And it is more of a projection. It is more of a cover for an insecurity, or this is what I'm supposed to do, or this is how I'm supposed to be, kind of playing a role or filling a space, rather than being the essence of the highest iteration of that energy. Do you see what I'm saying? And so I feel there's a shifting happening through this experience as far as this masculine goes, with, you know, coming into their divine masculine energy, where, you know, especially with this King of Cups on the bottom of the deck, it is this, when I don't feel I have to protect, like not feel and only solely focus on my ability to make money or to have a career, I am less egoic and more divine masculine. But when I have to search outside for all of my validation, then my ego becomes very fragile. It becomes very easy to hurt, because, you know, the world is a fickle place. One minute people want this from you, and the next minute they say that's the worst thing you could possibly be. So there's this roller coaster ride. There's this up and down. You know, when you are looking for external validation, you think about the Wheel of Fortune, which is the karmic wheel, the wheel of lessons, right? If you're riding the outside of it, it's constant up and down, you know, and you're constantly looking outward for validation. It's like sometimes you're up and sometimes you're down. But when you are your center and you are in the center, this, well, you can't stop this from happening. That's why Sir Swami Swachananda said, you know, we can't learn to surf. I mean, we can't stop the waves, but we can learn to surf. And that's how we learn to surf. We become our own pillar of consciousness in the center here. And as long as we are at peace with ourselves and we can accept life on life's terms, we don't ride the outside wave. We stay this pillar of peace. We stay in an energy of, you know, I mean, are you going to have moments where you feel better than others? Sure, of course you are. But the closer you get to the center, the less dramatic or drastic that becomes. And so it's like with this masculine, he's learning, he's coming away from that edge and moving closer and closer to the center, to that divinity, to his own highest and best, to being truly in control, because the world isn't affecting him the way that it was. You see what I'm saying? Then you have this energy of the Seven of Cups with the awakening, with the Ten of Pentacles. And the Ten of Pentacles is a really interesting card. You know, it definitely talks about abundance, and it definitely talks about the culmination of the Pentacles cycle. But it is, these pentacles are laid out in the pattern of the Kabbalic tree of life. And the part of the message of this card is that our abundance really doesn't come from money. It comes from those moments in life that take our breath away, that are just too good, that are just too perfect. You know, that feeling, you know, you can think of many moments like this. I know, like, I shared this in a prior video, but I had my arm through my husband's arm, and we were walking at Epcot, and it was beautiful. And my son was there with his girlfriend, and it was a perfect day. It was absolutely beautiful. And I thought, how lucky am I? How lucky am I? And it was like all of my senses were super heightened. You know, my heart was swelling, my heart chakra, I could feel it all. And I just was so taken by how lucky am I. That is a pentacle, you know, and that is what life is composed of. Those moments, whatever they are, you know, even sometimes, you know, I'll be driving in my Jeep I don't have windows or a roof on my Jeep, blaring my Fleetwood Mac, driving down the street by the lake. We have a lot of lakes here in Florida. And, you know, I will just feel so alive, you know, and just so like, oh, you know, life is so good. Life is so beautiful. Life is so amazing. That's a pentacle. And that is what matters. And that is what life is composed of. And this card has 3 generations of people in it. There's an old man, there's the couple, and there's the child. There's also these dogs, which I love because a lot of my pinnacle moments actually happen with my Bhakti boy. But this is our legacy. This is what we leave on. This is what we give. This ability to connect to life and to connect to each other in such a way that it takes our breath away. And that is the richness of life. And that is what this person's awakening is telling him, is that, I could go out there and make all the money in the world and, get the best partner I could based on my income. But is that gonna provide the true meaning of the Ten of Pentacles? There's a lot of fear and illusion here, and let me separate that out. Let me take away all those parts that are really coming from a space of fear and ego and arrogance and me wanting to be a success. And let me look at what really matters, what I really want to invest in, what's really at the end of my life, what is really going to matter. And then how do I shift my perspective so that I align with this? You have the Five of Swords on the bottom of the deck, and this is this person facing their thoughts that have defeated them, and all of the mental gymnastics and manipulations that they've done to themselves and that society has done, and that, this is a coming clean energy here of I'm seeing through all of these things that were not good for me, that were defeating me, that were preventing me from seeing what actually was the true abundance. Yeah, okay, so those two cards came out together. On the bottom of the deck, you have the Ace of Crystals. I got that song again. And what is it? Rascal Flatts. You guys always tell me, and then I always forget. And I went and listened to it, and then they also had another song. Oh my God, seriously. Oh, universe. That even took it to another level. But it's that song, Watching You Walk Away. This is everything that they ever wanted, and they let them go. They didn't even fight. They didn't resist. They didn't even try to make them stay. They just let them go. Some of you have a dog, or some of you, your person has a dog, like a big dog, maybe a dark dog, like a black dog, or like my dog that is like black and brown. They just let you go. Look at that. But you were what they always wanted. You were everything they ever wanted. Everything, like, if they could say, yeah, put all these qualities together, and it's even kind of like maybe they didn't even know what they wanted until it became you. I see this really radiant auric energy around this Queen of Wands, and it's like, it's so... This is beauty from the inside out. This is someone who doesn't chase, they attract. They know who they are, and they know what they want. And even if they love you, even if they have invested in you, even if they feel all of this and see all of this potential, if they're asking you for a commitment, remember we saw that Ace of Crystals on the bottom of the deck, and you don't offer it to them, they know their worth, they know their value, they trust that you're not the one. They trust that it is time for them to move on. And they willingly leave what they invested in because they know ultimately that their happiness is more important than staying and trying to make something work with someone who doesn't want them or want the same thing as them. Was not going to fight. And I think this person became even more attractive. With the moon here, sometimes it's only in absence that we realize that we love something so much. I just got the energy of a little kid who goes outside in search of the moon, and it's the new moon, and the moon is nowhere to be found in the sky. And it's then when the little boy realizes that he loves the moon. There's just this energy of sometimes only in the absence of something can we, it's not even like can we feel something, it's like do we feel something, because it's like when I don't have you here to distract me in the flesh from these feelings, like a place to put this, you know, I can't carry this love alone. That's when I realized how much I actually freaking cared. And how ironic, it's only in your absence, it's only when you're gone. You know, it's not when you were sitting here in front of me that I realized it, that you were my 10 of cups, that we could have it all, that I did feel a sense of emotional contentment with another person, maybe for the first time in my life, that I had been awakened. They were distracted by how much their heart beat when they were near you. Yeah, this person is like coming in. And they're coming in a different energy. You know, they're chasing you now. They're fighting now. They may have let you go. They may have let you walk away. And, you know, but they're definitely coming in, and they're wearing their heart on their sleeve. This is coming in with emotion. This is coming in, you know, acknowledging their feelings, which I think that they may never have done before. They want this, they know they want this, and they need to do it before it's too late, before they miss this opportunity. They need to fight for it. They need to let you know how they feel, and they need to let you know that they want this and that they are fighting for it before you feel rejected and so disappointed by them that you are no longer interested. Wow. I just literally got, or you're no longer interested, or you're no longer available. I pick up the deck, and the 3 of Swords falls out. They're freaked. They'd have to live with that energy their whole life. And this is someone who goes from love only disappoints you, love only lets you down, love only rejects you, to, you know, like, you know, I feel the love. My God, Pisces. Really fast, yeah. And now it's becoming overburdensome. I can't carry this love alone. It's building up so much that they have to come forward. Like, it's getting to a point where they can no longer handle it. This person's been watching you. Or they've definitely been thinking about you, or this can also be the energy of like aha moments where it becomes very crystal clear to them. With the Knight of Swords, this person's coming in hot and fast, and I think they really are coming in to speak their truth. They are going to show you that they have faced that hole. Doesn't that look like the hole that was in the King of Pentacles heart chakra? That they have faced it, and that they have done the work to get out of there, you know, to get out of that energy. And that what they have realized is that you woke them up. You reminded them that they were a emotional being, that they were an emotional, spiritual being, and that the material world was never going to be enough. And that, you know, they could seek the validation of the material world till the cows came home. And sometimes they'd feel good, but a lot of times they wouldn't. And they didn't want to ride that roller coaster their whole life. And it's kind of a meaningless roller coaster, really, at the end of the day. When you get to heaven, God doesn't say, how much money is in your bank account? God's like, what did you do with what I gave you? you know? So there's this energy with the Page of Swords, the Nine of Cups, the Two of Cups, and the Nine of Cups that is just like, holy hell, like, I don't know, Pisces, if you're going to be able to handle how much this person, their emotions are. Because it's like, I've been watching you. And I have had this succession of realizations and aha moments that are prompting me to come forward and express my emotion to you. And, you know, you have always been my emotional safe space with the Two of Cups and the Nine of Cups. Like, you are my wish fulfillment. You are the one. You are my soulmate. You're the one that I feel healed me, you know, or showed me the way, or led me to the water, you know, and I have drank in it. And now here I am, and I'm ready to take a leap of faith. And it's so, this energy, this push to move in this direction and to say what they want to say and to come in quickly is getting so burdensome that this person has to, they've resisted all that they can. They have to come in. They have to close out the cycle. They have to know how this goes. Damn. Wow. I was sitting there and I got this like, man, this is like a movie or a book or something. This does not feel like real life, like the energy that I'm tapping into, which sometimes it's like that with tarot. And a lot of times, you know, especially when you're like clairsentient or you're, sorry, someone came to my door. It's probably just a delivery. You can feel something in an extreme. You know, you don't, you don't have like a speedometer or a gauge or something. You know, you just feel it. And when you feel it, it can come out very passionately, or it can come out very, I don't know, kind of to an extreme. And especially like I'm a Libra, and I'm very much a Libra. I'm like, I have a stellium in Libra. But there's this energy of, you know, and so I always say, you know, put it on a spectrum, you know that energy is on a spectrum, always, always, always. And so take what resonates and take it in the way that it resonates with you, right? And so this energy is the energy, but it is the energy at like, you know, an extreme. But it's so funny because I was so focused on that, and I was so focused on the fact that it felt like a movie or whatever, and it's like boom, then the Hermit and Justice came out with the Seven of Pentacles, and this is kind of like giving me this vibe of someone coming to you and saying, I know this may not feel real, or it may not seem real, or it may seem like I'm just rushing in here and telling you this, whatever it is that I'm saying to you, right? But I've thought about it. I took my time. I really looked at it. I really evaluated it. I really asked myself, what the hell do you want? What is your wish fulfillment? What are you looking for? If not Pisces, then what? And, you know, here, ironically, we also have Virgo to Libra energy. But it's like, I did the soul searching. I took the time. And I've made my decision. I'm coming to you balanced, ready to make this right, ready to rebalance the scales. And it's possible, Pisces, that you loved this person so much and you were so ready and willing to give to this person, and you were so open to it and so free-flowing in your emotion that in order to balance the scales, this person had to be able to meet you there. For some of you, this can also be being single for a while and then having some, you know, this is your karmic justice. You could have someone new coming in to, you know, balance out the scales of what you have experienced up until this point. You know, you have learned your lessons and you have moved on from those lessons. And now it's time for you not to be alone anymore. And now you have someone coming in very quickly who's going to be your Two of Cups, who is your wish fulfillment, who is coming in to show you reflected back to you. But it's so funny that those cards would come out like that. You know, there it is, the offer you've been waiting for. Wow. I mean, Pisces, you got the King of Cups here. You have the Ace of Wands, the Six of Pentacles, the Empress, and the Three of Cups. Heavy Libra energy here. You also have Taurus heavy here. Which I love. That's me and my husband. Libra and Taurus. But here's what I see. You have somebody who I feel has had an emotional reawakening. You know, we are all born with emotion. We are all feelers when we're born. It is a series of turning it off. It's a series of stepping away, you know, picking and choosing from what we are as to what is acceptable and what is not in the eyes of those that influence us, right? That takes us away from ourselves, you know, and our truth and our authenticity. And this person is like, whoa, you came into my life. I had this hole in my chest. I was not feeling. I was focused on money. I was having a very wild ride. I was up sometimes, I was down sometimes, and I was just trying to get to a place where I felt really solid and stable, where it wasn't such an up and down thing, and where I had as much as I was going to have to offer, and then I was going to just get the best person I could at that point. And you came into my life highly unexpectedly, and you caused this huge shift in my perspective, this huge rebalancing of my chakra system. And now suddenly, where I once told myself just don't feel, I'm completely in touch with my emotions. I know exactly how I feel, and I'm okay with it. I can process my emotions. I'm not reacting to the suppressed emotion anymore and acting totally from my ego and my arrogance. I'm whole again. You made me whole again. And we have the Ace of Wands, the Six of Crystals, the Empress, and the Three of Cups. I mean, this person wants to balance things out. This is what they want. They are offering you something solid and stable. You have two aces here. For some of you, this is a brand new person. But they are someone who is coming in. They want to reciprocate. They are looking for someone who can match their energy as well. Someone who can mirror back to them who they are and what they are about. And that's you. You're the only one. The Empress is here with the Six of Cups. They had to elevate in order to be able to match your energy, in order to be able to reflect back to you your beauty, your truth, what you had to offer. And we do have, I will say in this reading, the Empress and the Emperor, divine masculine and divine feminine. For some of you with the Three of Cups, they want another chance. For some of you with the Three of Cups, they want to celebrate. They want to come together. They want to experience this. They want to feel the complete happiness of coming together. And they are offering you something solid and stable here, knowing that the Empress, of course, deserves that. But with this Ace of Wands and the Six of Crystals, it feels like I've never wanted anything more in my life. And, you know, the Six of Crystals also talks about our karmic reward for everything that we have done, everything that we have been, everything that, you know, the influence and the impact that we have had on others coming back to us. Balancing out. Wow. This person wants victory and success. You know, if this is a connection that died, they are ready to be reborn. They are ready to have a new experience, a new chance. They're ready to let the past go and to have a new beginning. This person, they want to cross the finish line. They want to do everything right. They want to offer you something solid and stable, and they want to be the solid and stable partner who shows up, who's reliable, who's consistent, who is always there when you need them. Ace of Crystals, Knight of Pentacles. All right, Pisces, let's get you some message cards, shall we? All right, if you're dealing with a water sign, you're getting nostalgic. You're getting the changes are real. Be patient with me, please. Secret, I won't let you go. And cold. If you're dealing with a fire sign, guarded, wait for me. You are the only one who truly gets me. Suddenly, all the songs I hear are about you. I want to be vulnerable with you. I had no idea you would end up meaning so much to me, and excited. If you are dealing with an earth sign, I want to talk to you. Daydreaming. Resentment. Your words speak to me like no others can. Annoyed. Sometimes people are annoyed that you have this effect on them. Like, why couldn't they just go along riding the outside of the Wheel of Fortune, you know? You're dealing with the air sign. I don't want to miss my chance with you. I want a future with you. Controlling. I am overthinking everything. I just want to go back in time, and repressing. All right, guys, this is what I have for you. I really hope that this helps. I hope this brings you some peace and clarity. There is definitely an energetic shift happening in your energy. I would not be surprised if a past person has come back, or if you will be meeting someone new. I do feel it is very, very, very soon to happen. Very soon to happen for most of you. All right, this is what I have for you. I really hope that it helps. I am sending you off with all my very best. Always, 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 Pisces. I learned so much from you and from these readings, and I cherish you. Until next time, guys, all my best. Always, always. Bye-bye.